is 905 at 97.5 Glory FM. And welcome once again to the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Good night, everyone. I'm Mike Wofford. Welcome to 97.5 Glory FM as we bring you the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We talk high school, college, and pro sports action all throughout the morning until 10 o'clock this morning here on 97.5 Glory FM. Plus, we have a live video stream on our new YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports. Make sure you subscribe and like our channel there at Team Glory Sports on YouTube. We're going to talk high school football in the first half hour here on 97.5 Glory FM. Plus, we'll talk sports medicine during the second half of the show. We're going to talk college and pro football right here on your radio station for North Georgia. Sports kicking things off the scoreboard from last night in our broadcast game of the week. It was West Hall winning their fourth straight game as they defeat Franklin County by a final of 27-13. Best start in the years for Carlton Montgomery as the head coach there at West Hall High as they won last night 27-13. They're now 4-1 the season, getting ready for a Region 8 AAA action coming up next week. And what a tough one for the Spartans. They'll be at Memorial Stadium in Jackson County. They'll take on the Jefferson Dragons coming up next week in their first region game of the season. But what a great first half of the season it has been for West Hall. Also from last night, it was East Hall falling to East Jackson. A big second half for the Eagles as they came back from a 27-21 deficit to defeat East Hall by a final of 45-27. Also around the area last night, a huge crowd on hand at City Park Stadium, Bobby Groom Field. Renovations still being made to the old facility there, but so much work has been done in the off season. Elvin's playing their first home game at the new look stadium last night as they defeat the Lanier Longhorns in their first region game, winning by a score of 50-14. They dominated the entire ball game last night and back on the winning track. They're now 4-1 on the season. Also from last night in Region 6 AAA play, it was North Hall defeating White County 35-21. Coming back, they had a 21-21 halftime score. North Hall held White County scoreless in the second half, scored 14 points in a short time in the third quarter, and going for a 35-21 win. They're 2-0 in region play, and the only two teams of the 8 teams in Region 6 AAA that are undefeated during the first 2 weeks are North Hall and Greater Atlanta Christian, as it was GAC winning their game against Johnson last night 48-0. It was a homecoming victory for Lumpkin County as it was the Indians over Chestatee by a final of 49-25. It was Pickens downing Dawson County in the Tigers' first region game of the year, 35-23, the final in that one for the Dragons over the Dawson County Tigers from last night. Looking around the area of the games last night played here in our local area over in Forsyth County, it was the Bulldogs of Forsyth Central picking up their first region win since 2020 as they defeated Alpharetta last night by a final of 24-13. Also last night around the area was South Forsyth falling in a big way to North Atlanta in their region 62-21. The final in that one for the War Eagles falling to North Atlanta. Back on Thursday in Forsyth County, it was North Forsyth falling to Lambert in a shootout there as the Longhorns, they're still undefeated in the season. They defeat the Raiders by a final of 48-43. It was West Forsyth over Denmark 28-21. Also on Thursday, it was Wandabara over Alcovy by a final of 42-7. Back to last night's scoreboard, it was Beaufort, no problem at all with the Discovery Titans. It was Beaufort 46-0 over Discovery in Jackson County last night. Commerce almost put off a big upset against Athens Academy, but the Spartans came back and they defeat the Tigers by 29-28. Jackson County falls to Clark Central 27-11. It was Banks County in region play falling to Rabun County. It was the Wildcats over the Leopards 31-9 in Banks County's first region game in Region 8A Division 1. Also, it was of the Mountains, Union County with an impressive win over North Murray. Fanning County defeats Dade County last night in northwest Georgia. It was Hart County over Monroe area, and a game of interest there in Region 8 AAA. Hart County's in the same region with Franklin County and Stevens County in 8AA, while Monroe area is in that tough region 8 AAA bracket there. Also from last night, teams that had the night off, Cherokee Bluff, they had the night off. They're already halfway through the season, undefeated at 5-0. And Tommy Jones Bears back in action coming up next week, starting out the Region 8 AAA schedule. And the 3 private schools in Hall County all had the evening off with Lakeview Academy, which is in great shape right now in the GIAA and their district. Riverside Prep had the night off. It will be Riverside and Lakeview playing next Friday night in that crosstown battle. And Lanier Christian also had the evening off from last night. Coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM, we'll talk more about high school football. We'll talk other sports and scores in the pro scene and more here on 97.5 Glory FM with the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
On-time service and experience matter for your home's heating and air system. For more than 40 years, Conditioned Air Systems has been North Georgia's solution for residential HVAC installation, maintenance, and repair. Family owned and operated, we deliver the highest quality service on any brand and model with no hidden fees, promising 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Comfort you can feel, quality you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Beaufort, Bushton, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/blackandblue.
Hey, it's Coach Mark Richt here. Everyone knows defense wins championships. And if you're not using EMC Security to defend your home and family, you need to step up your game. They're who I use for home security and cameras, and you should too. I've scouted them all, and there's no better choice. With EMC Security's no contract and local service, they are a clear number one. So give them a call or visit them online at emcsecurity.com. That's emcsecurity.com.
If you need to communicate to a lot of people, you need Gainesville Signs and Graphics. They are a full-service sign company. From consultation through construction, they'll handle all aspects of your sign needs. Political signs, banners, magnetics, monuments, subdivision and street signs, as well as vehicle and storefront graphics. So trust your sign needs to Gainesville Signs and Graphics. Check out their website at GainesvilleSignsandGraphics.com or call 770-533-5700.
13 minutes past 9 o'clock here at 97.5 Glory FM. This is the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Several ways to pick up the program. You can listen to us live. Also later on our YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports. You can go to YouTube and look at our page there, and you can listen to the show and watch it anytime throughout the next week, getting ready for the upcoming week of high school, college, and pro sports here in the North Georgia area. On our radio station, of course, you can hear us on the radio at 97.5 FM. Also, if you're in the area with AM, you can pick it up at AM 1330, Glory 1330. Also, we're streaming on our website, WGTJradio.com. Just go to the website and click on the Listen Live link. We're streaming on the TuneIn Radio app, Simple Radio app, and the Radio Garden app. At home on your Amazon Echo, you can now say, enable the skill. We have a skill now. You can enable the skill, 97.5 Glory FM. You'll hear my voice come on and welcome you to our stream, and you'll know you will not hear any of those annoying tune-in ads when you go to our enable skill setting there on your Amazon Echo. Go to your settings and say enable the skill, 97.5 Glory FM. Getting back to what's going on here in the area, and we'd love to hear from you. You can always send a text message to us to 678-928-1826. Our text line is always open at 678-928-1826, or send an email to mail@wgtjradio.com. Some of the great things happening around the area from last night. Very important ball games in the area in AA and in AAA, and even in Class A play, because of the new format with the Georgia High School Association when it comes to postseason play. AAA and AAA will have power rankings to determine the top 32 teams in each of those classifications playing in state playoffs. Now, also for the private schools, all the private schools in those three classifications, A, AA, and AAA, will have their own state playoffs in all the sports for this upcoming school year. And that's going to be the big thing there, and how the private schools affect the public schools in those top 32 rankings in the power rankings down in Quad A, Quinte, and 6A. You still go back to the old format, the top 4 teams in each region playing for the state championships in their respective sports. And here in the fall season, we've got cross country, we've got softball, we also have volleyball. There's a big tournament taking place today. And also there is, of course, football, the big story. We're halfway through the season as we get ready to start the month of October next weekend. As fall arrives tomorrow with the equinox, we get ready for the home run stretch there, going down the stretch for the rest of the season, and every game is so important. That's why last night in Region 6 AAA, you have Greater Atlanta Christian and North Hall. They're both 2-0 right now in that region. And what happens in the state playoffs right now, if, say, that GAC finishes either 1 or 2 in the region this year, well, 6 AAA does not get that spot guaranteed in the upcoming state playoffs. They would have to end up having to get an at-large berth with the top 2 teams in each region that are public schools get automatic berths into the upcoming state playoffs. So that's why every game is so important, especially when you're playing Greater Atlanta Christian. And we'll see them later in the season. In about 3 weeks on October the 11th, we'll have them. They'll be going up against North Hall. Our broadcast schedule next week will be at Flowery Branch, as it will be a Region 8 Quad A battle between East Forsyth and Flowery Branch. We get a chance to see Dustin County's East Forsyth Broncos, who suffered their first loss of the season last night as they fell to North Oconee, the powerhouse there in 8 Quad A, and losing that first region game of the year, while it was Flowery Branch falling on the road to East Side of Covington, which is a very powerful football team. Also be interesting to see what East Side and North Oconee do down the stretch. That seems going to be one of the top teams in that region in 8 Quad A. For Coach Jason Tester's team, they're still trying to really find themselves offensively, and they've got to do a better job when it comes to stopping teams defensively like Eastside. And they've had problems with the Eagles over the past years. They were in the same region in 8 Quinte, but then it was Flowery Branch dropping down to Quad A with the new classification alignment here for the next 2 years. But Eastside was going to be Quinte, and they appealed to the GHSA and won their appeal, so they dropped down to Quad A. So that was a big win last night. Sort of a funny story here. If you're my age, for example, you may remember on television in the 70s, even at that time, there was a man named Guy Sharp, who was a TV weatherman for Channel 5 and then for Channel 11 before he retired. He is from Covington, and he also, I think, at one time owned the radio station there in Covington, the AM station, and the football stadium there in Covington is named after him. It's Homer Sharp Stadium, and they have that one stadium for the 3 high schools there in Newton County. It's Newton High, Eastside, and Alcovy are the 3 schools in Newton County, and they're all large schools, and they have that one central stadium there in downtown Covington. And it's interesting that Guy Sharp, a weatherman, has a football stadium named after him there in downtown Covington. And again, last night for the Branch, they had trouble scoring and also trouble giving up points last night. But the way to start off their region schedule, one of the top teams there in Eastside, and also for Coach Cannon's Broncos for North Oconee, which remains one of the top teams in the state in Class Quad A. So next week we'll have East Forsyth and Flowery Branch from Falcon Field. Our broadcast will begin with the Longstreet Cafe pregame show at 7:05. Kickoff will be at 7:30. Looking forward to seeing the Broncos there, and you get a chance to hear us over in the East Forsyth area there. Really from Highway 369 north, you can hear our station clear as a bell there in Forsyth County. So from North Forsyth to East Forsyth, we cover the area there like nobody else here on 97.5 Glory FM. We'll talk with Coach Dustin Cannon and also with Athletic Director Matt Hollis, getting ready for the game next week with Flowery Branch and Coach Jason Tester and AD Jimmy Lawler. Should be a lot of fun coming up next Friday as Joe Gailey, Harper Obell, Gary Glenn, I'll be there to bring you the play-by-play right here on your radio station for North Georgia sports. Looking at the other games around the area last night and how it affects the region standings, you guys start watching the standings already now, as we have so many teams in Region 6 AAA. There are 8 teams in 6 AAA. There are 6 teams in Region 8 AAA, and each of those 2 regions have 3 Hall County schools in those regions. And with that, in 8 AAA, they'll start things off next week. You have Jefferson, Monroe area, and Oconee County. Then here in Hall County, Cherokee, Bluff, East Hall, and West Hall in that region. In Region 6 AAA, you have North Hall, Chestatee, and Johnson from Hall County. Then you have Dawson County, Lumpkin County, White County, Greater Atlanta Christian, and Pickens in the region. And after, again, the first 2 weeks, the only 2 teams that are undefeated are GAC and North Hall. They're both at 2-0. And it shows you how important each win was going to be for all the teams in this region. Next week, one big matchup is going to be Lumpkin County playing at White County, and one of those 2 teams will have 2 losses in the region after next week's ball game. And also, North Hall celebrates homecoming with a game against Pickens next week. That's also going to be a very interesting matchup between a wide-open Pickens team and North Hall. And last night for the Trojans, they had big runs offensively from last night. Another 100-yard-plus running night, as you heard from Jody Kinney on the final score last night, as it was Parker Carlton, big night for him. Also, Luke Jenkins had a big night. Both of them busted open runs of over 50 yards from last night. And also their quarterback, McGarvey, the job he did last night leading the Trojans' offensive attack against White County. And defensively, the Trojans were in the backfield all night long. It was amazing. Jody gave me the figure that White County had a total, I think it was 42 yards of total rushing when you take away the sacks that took place last night. And quarterback Trip Nix had most of the yardage rushing the football last night, and they just could not run the football against North Hall. And the Trojans were able to shut down the passing attack for the most part because they were really covering up the receivers, and Trip Nix has had a hard time finding receivers to throw the football to last night. One of the touchdowns, in fact, came on a muff punt when the punt hit a North Hall gunner, as they say, down trying to get downfield to hit one of the receivers for White County. Hit him in the back, and White County gets the ball, and they were able to score on a quick touchdown pass from Nix in that one series for the Warriors. But it's a big battle, and that's what we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, about what's going on with culture and the community here around the area and how we have to do a better job of really portraying what sports is all about when it comes to how competitive you want to be in sports and also in life at home. We'll tell you more about that coming up next as you're tuned to the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM.
Siphon Logistics' commitment is to provide you, the customer, with on-time pickup and delivery every time. Members of the Siphon family have been in the transportation business since 1984. The Siphon Logistics transportation professionals are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing maximum flexibility and options to produce the most successful shipping arrangements. Call Siphon Logistics at 770-287-8485 and take a look at their website at siphonlogistics.com.
Go by the grocery store and do all that there does. Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
And coming up next on 97.5 Glory FM with the Saturday Morning Sports Show, we'll have our NGPG Sports segment here on 97.5 Glory FM. We'll talk sports medicine. That comes up next.
This is Representative Lee Hawkins, your representative to the state legislature. I want to wish all the local athletes in our area the very best this season. Your team is very important to the success of our community, and I look forward to seeing you play this year and to see what you accomplish in the classrooms and in the community. I also look forward to serving you and your family in the state legislature. This message paid for by the committee to re-elect Lee Hawkins.
Thank you, North Hall. This is Chris Kinsey with Millie's Drapery and Decorating, and we would like to thank the North Hall community for their continued support. Since 1968, my family has provided the area with beautiful custom drapery, bedding, upholstery, blinds, shades, and more. If you would like some help with your interior design project, give us a call and we'll schedule one of our talented designers to give you an in-home consultation and estimate for your project. Call us at 770-532-3819.
97.5 Glory FM. We're back with Dr. Chad Muxlow, one of the surgeons at NGPG Ortho and Sports Medicine. We have talked to him a couple of times. I want to talk more about the services that are offered there at NGPG. Tell me about some of the common injuries that you're seeing, sir.
Yeah, so at our practice, we treat any kind of musculoskeletal injury. So, anything from broken bones to ligament injuries, to tendon injuries, to, strains and sprains and those things as well. So pretty much any, joint or muscle, bone, that's where we're going to be focusing on as far as providing care for. Some of the more common injuries that we see, we certainly see a lot of shoulder injuries. A lot of times these are repetitive use type injuries where, again, it may not be a real severe injury or something that happened, but also start having some pain in there and start causing some issues for patients. And so, that's a pretty common injury. And again, knee injuries are pretty common. Less common, the smaller joints we don't see as much, like an elbow or ankle injury. We do see ankle fractures because those tend to happen where patients kind of twist their ankle, they're coming off the curb or stepping wrong or slipping. So those are a little more common. As far as like tendon injuries in the ankle or cartilage injuries, those are a little less frequent than we see with the bigger joints like the knees and shoulders.
All right, so as I get older, I'm having a little difficulty, say, with one of my arms, and I think, okay, it could be a rotator cuff, but I'm not quite sure. What would be some of the symptoms of having a bad rotator cuff?
So a lot of times with rotator cuff injuries, they may start out kind of small, just kind of a sore shoulder, kind of achy. A lot of times you see it on the side of the shoulder, even sometimes down the arm a little bit, kind of midway down the arm. A lot of times we'll see that because we'll start overworking or compensating some of the other muscles around the shoulder to compensate for that rotator cuff, and then we'll start overworking some of those other muscles, and the pain will be down a little further. But we'll start seeing some pain. That's usually how it starts. A lot of times patients will complain of pain at night, trouble sleeping. It'll wake them up at night, kind of makes them miserable because if you can't sleep, it's tough to get anything else done the day if you're pretty tired. So we'll see that as well. When they start getting more severe, that's when we're going to start noticing weakness, difficulty lifting out away from the body. So if you reach out to grab a pitcher of tea out of the fridge and you're like, oh man, that really hurts, and have trouble lifting that pitcher or at least causes pain, that's another common symptom we'll see with the rotator cuff. And then if it gets real severe, then we just have trouble lifting the arm up, so you're trying to lift that arm out away from the body, up overhead. And sometimes people, when they have a pretty significant tear, will have difficulty doing that. At that point, then we're getting pretty worried if you can't lift that arm. It's something that's pretty significant as far as damage in that shoulder.
All right, use me as one of your patients, sir. I've got pain in my left arm near my shoulder down toward the bicep. Is that a symptom there?
Yeah, that could be, if it's in kind of the biceps area, it could be, some biceps tendonitis. There's a little groove that the bicep sits in where it kind of comes up from the biceps muscle itself and then goes up and attaches into the shoulder. And sometimes we'll get some irritation, inflammation in that area. Sometimes we'll even get some tearing in that tendon up at that top part in that groove there. And that can be cause a bit of discomfort as well. So we'll see that, that biceps tendon can be a big pain generator if there's some inflammation or a little bit damage to that tendon as it comes up into the shoulder. And then it actually attaches deep inside the socket of the shoulder. One of the tendons of the biceps does. Sometimes that'll kind of pull away and cause some pain in there as well. So we'll see that kind of more in that front area of the shoulder when we're doing things like reaching out, lifting up, reaching back behind, like if you're going to grab your bag out of the back seat of the car or something, you're reaching back and start feeling kind of pain across the front of the shoulder. That could be more of a biceps injury.
Oh, exactly. So go to NGPG. Not only offer surgery, but also you can do rehab, right?
Absolutely. So, we certainly try to focus on surgery as a last resort, right? So we want to try any conservative measures we can to get patients better. So we try, physical therapy, either going to see a physical therapist, or sometimes we'll set you up with exercises that you can do on your own at first. Sometimes we'll do some injections just to try to reduce inflammation if we need to. A lot of times it's a good way to get pain reduced quickly because we can put that medication right at that site. And sometimes it's just over-the-counter medications and things like that. But those are all things that we want to try usually as first-line treatments for injuries that are less severe. Sometimes, the injury could be more significant than that, and we just won't make progress. And then, if we have to, surgical options are available if it is that significant where we need to go down that road.
All right, so I can make an appointment there at NGPG, or I can just walk right into your office, right?
Yeah, you can. It's easy to call. We can usually get you in right away that day or the next day usually without too much difficulty. You can just come into the office if you have an issue, and we can usually get these patients worked in. We try to make time and have space every day to get people in if we need to, and kind of work them into the schedule for sure.
So tell me where you're located.
So I'm located at our Gainesville office, which is in Medical Park 1, just on Jesse Jewell near the hospital there. I also see patients in Dawsonville at our Dawsonville office. We have a brand new medical office building that just is being built there, and so we see patients there. I see patients there as well, and so we kind of focus on those areas. But we do have other locations throughout the Northeast Georgia area, such as Brazelton and Jefferson and other areas as well, sometimes some smaller satellite clinics. But main office is definitely Gainesville and Dawsonville are kind of our main locations in addition to Brazelton.
Well, thanks to Dr. Chad Mugslow of NGPG Ortho and Sports Medicine. We got more for you coming up next on 97.5 Glory FM.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Wofford, Bushton, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings, and one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/blackandblue.
And back on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, 97.5 Glory FM. Mike Warford with you until 10 o'clock this morning. You can always send a text message to me anytime. Let me know what you think about the show this morning. And again, you can see me on the air working behind the scenes here. You can send me a text message to 678-928-1826, 678-928-1826. Recapping the scoreboard from last night, was Gainesville over Lanier, 50-14, big crowd at the newly renovated City Park Stadium, Bobby Groom Field. The game you heard right here on 97.5 Glory FM. It was West Hall over Franklin County, 27-13. Big night for Elijah Hayes and Brett Sturm last night, leading the offense for the Spartans last night. 2 big field goals by their all-state kicker there in Avila, and was the Spartans winning their 4th straight game. They'll be back in action next week in their first region game of the year against Jefferson. Also from last night, it was East Hall falling to East Jackson. The Eagles winning 45-27. It was North Hall over White County, that big rivalry, 35-21. Also, it was Lumpkin County celebrating homecoming with a 49-25 win over Chestatee. It was Pickens handing Dawson County their first regional loss of the year in their first game in region play, 35-23 the final in that one for the Dragons last night. And also it was Greater Atlanta Christian 48, Johnson nothing. Also around the area, it was East Forsyth falling to North Oconee 24-7. It was Eastside downing Flowery Branch 48-12. Also around the area, it was Commerce falling to Athens Academy in a close one, 29-28. It was Clark Central over Jackson County, 27-11. South Forsyth falls to North Atlanta, 62-21. Also, it was Forsyth Central picking up their first regional win since 2020 as they were victorious last night over Alpharetta, 24-13. Back on Thursday, North Forsyth falls to Lambert with the Longhorns remaining undefeated. They beat North Forsyth in a wild one last Thursday night by a final score of 48-43, and West Forsyth was a winner as they were defeated Denmark Danes on Thursday by a final 28-21. Other scores maybe of interest: it was Beaufort, no problem at all with Discovery, 46-0. Also, it was Union County downing North Murray. Fannin County a winner over the Dade County Wolverines. Hart County was a winner over Monroe area, and some of the other games around the North Georgia area. I want to pause just for a moment and talk about life in general. You know, back on September the 4th, there was a tragedy that took place at Appalachia High School when the young man Colt Gray came in and killed 4 people, 2 teachers. One was a football coach at Appalachia, 2 of the students. 9 people were wounded in that attack back on September the 4th. The football team has not played since that point, and they hit the field once again this week. The Georgia High School Association forced the team to what they do reacclimation to get back into football shape in a sense. They did not wear pads this week, and they were going through drills, getting ready for a possible football game. Now, they're scheduled to play next Friday night against Clark Central. Last night's game with Loganville was canceled due to the reacclimation. So they're going to get in pads on Monday morning for the first time since this incident. And also, for the first time since the incident, the students will be going back to school next week, but only a half a day. And I can't even imagine what the students have gone through since September the 4th. And football, I think, can be a great medicine for these young boys that are out there playing. And it'll be interesting to see. They have not guaranteed they're going to play the game next Friday with Clark Central. They may go ahead and cancel that ball game. Also, they've already had 3 games canceled on their schedule, and so they're going to have those games will not be played this year. And your heart goes out to everyone there associated with Appalachia, with the students, with the teachers, with the coaches, with the people who work in the lunchroom, to the front office, with the administration, to the bus drivers, everyone that's associated with educating our children, and how that's affected not only Appalachia High School, but also the other schools in Barrow County. And for our neighbors there in Barrow County and Appalachia High specifically, remember them in your prayers, please, because the one thing I go back to what the sheriff of Barrow County said the evil will not be here. And it's like they're going to heal there at Appalachia. And we've been praying that God will not allow Satan to put a dark cloud and really take over the situation, and that God will be with this situation. Every person involved in that high school and in that county that may have been affected, and that something good will take place from all this. We got much more for you coming up next on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We'll talk college football and pro football coming up next on 97.5 Glory FM.
As an electric cooperative, Jackson EMC must always have an eye on the future, exploring the newest innovations taking place in every area of our business. Ideas that lead to a better use of resources and improved ways of conducting business. Automated switch technology, iPads in the field, and internal networking that enable us to pinpoint outages, access complex mapping, and provide faster response times. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
This is Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, where we're proud to celebrate 50 years of serving North Georgia. Since 1974, Duplicating Products has been dedicated to providing top-quality office solutions and exceptional service. Our success would not have been possible without the support of our incredible community and loyal customers. Thank you for being an important part of our journey. Find out more about us at duplicatingproducts.com/thank you.
Yes, thank you. Back on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, 97.5 Glory FM. Time now to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, where our partner Harper Abell joined me this morning. Hey, Harper.
Well, good morning, Mike. long night last night, and then you get to roll right back out of bed and get to work.
Absolutely.
Get to work, young man. Come on, let's go.
Well, I was here all night. My bed is my recliner that I have here in the lobby of the studio there. So it's like going from one seat to the other, my friend. But tell you what, great job last night with Joe and Gary with the ball game last night. Had a lot of fun last night, didn't we?
We did. It was a little loud, but I hope our audience forgives us and lets us know that that's probably a spot we'll have to find another place on campus where we can broadcast the game.
Well,
but,
we'll talk the Hall County Schools District about that. They need to renovate that facility, don't they?
Well, either that or just turn the volume down just a tad or point the speakers in a different direction. But that's part of what you get when you go to Spartan Stadium. You get to Ryan and everybody else, and, it was a good game among many other things. And, you've mentioned how West Hall is doing something they haven't done quite a while, being 4-1. And congrats, really, to go to Franklin County. They're a pretty good team.
They are.
They struggled with a couple of fumbles early on, and had that not been the case, I think it might have been a different output. But good game.
All right, so tomorrow night, the Atlanta Falcons are back on the big stage. They had that big win we'll talk about with the Philadelphia Eagles back on Monday Night Football. Tomorrow night, it's Sunday Night Football on NBC. For that one, take it on the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, you mentioned how good a football team are the Falcons?
Well, we're one play away from being 0-2, in my opinion. If Saquon Barkley just makes that catch and rolls forward, it's first down, and we can't stop the clock. And they either kick a field goal, they get a touchdown, or they just run it out. And that's how close the games are. Kansas City, who comes into town, has had 2 wins this season, both of them on the final play of the game. So there's different ways of looking at it, but I thought in training camp, and I've said this before, so if this is the first time you've heard it from me, then that means you're not listening a whole lot. But
new listeners,
I thought we'd be a little rusty because none of our guys, none of them, not a single starter played in the preseason, and you've got to play in real games in order to be able to play in real games. It's like if you want to run fast, don't run slow. That you don't train slow. You practice running fast. You practice doing things at a higher speed. You train for getting faster. And if you want to lose weight, you gotta. I'm not saying don't eat. Just push the plate a little bit. Have a smaller dose of potatoes with the steak, and cut down a 24-inch or 24-ounce steak into an 18. You can lose weight. It's possible. So getting in shape for a real game when you're playing Pittsburgh for the first time may produce some results that you didn't want. And when you lose that one, we look much better against Philadelphia. But like I said, that one play with Saquon Barkley really opened the door, and Kirk Cousins was absolutely amazing on that last drive. We had one incompletion, but guys were wide open. He found them. Next thing you know, we're winning the ball game, and we're 1-1 hosting a game on NBC, as you mentioned, against the world champions.
Well, the fans want to see Kirk Cousins do that on every drive, right?
Oh, of course. Come on, man. No, but at least you're not doing it in Philadelphia where you're getting booed, even if you're ahead. And I know personally, we were ahead on Monday Night Football back in '90, and we were playing the Minnesota Vikings, and Randall Cunningham threw an interception. Carl Lee, the cornerback for the Vikings, picks it off in the end zone as we're attempting to score, and we got booed going off the field at home while we were ahead on Monday Night Football. So welcome to Philadelphia.
Yes, and Atlanta, let's hope it doesn't get that bad. But they're just so hungry. The fans just want something successful.
Yeah, well, we've been given a roster that went to the Super Bowl. What was that, 6 or 7 years ago? And we missed out. Right? It goes to overtime, and how could that happen? There were people that were planning their parade route.
Yes.
At halftime of that Super Bowl, and it didn't happen. So ever since, it's been like, well, what are you going to do to get us to that next step? And the draft picks here and there, and free agents here and there, and finally, we've got a roster that's very competitive. And now I'm starting to see, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the rust coming off of the preseason lack of play, and we're starting to look like a very good football team. We're number 11 overall in defense. I think that could improve.
Sure.
And we're right in the middle of the pack, 17 or 18 on offense. After 2 games, it doesn't mean anything. It's too early. Everybody's all bunched up together. But the seeds have been planted. It's time for them to take root, and I'm looking forward to probably the next 3 or 4 weeks will really be a great sign. You've got the Chiefs, then you've got some conference games or division games to be more specific, and you can really set yourself up to be where you need to be against a Saint team that's scoring like crazy right now. They're very impressive, and a 2-0 Tampa team. So there's plenty of work to do.
Talking to our partner Harper O'Bell this morning on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. He's our expert when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. The question I think a lot of people may have is what kind of differences, what kind of changes have Kansas City made from last year's Super Bowl team?
Well, remember when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl and lost, everybody for about 3 or 4 years was, oh, there's a Super Bowl hangover. A Super Bowl hangover. You all heard that.
Sure.
And then the Falcons really struggled. It's almost as if they bought into it. I'm seeing Kansas City looking a little sluggish right now. They're not perfect. Last week's game, I remember listening for a couple of plays, and I wasn't able to watch the game, but Patrick Mahomes has 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That's very un-Mahomes-like early in the season. He had another interception that was called back because of a defensive hold penalty. So he's been a little out of it, if you could say. You know, his numbers are, what's he got, 440 yards right now throwing after 2 games? That's kind of average, and we're expecting Superman to be well above average. So maybe they've got a little bit of a slumber that they have also. You know, a very short off season. When you win the Super Bowl, you're constantly doing TV commercials and ads, and people want to be a part of you, and it may take them a little while to focus. Well, if I'm a Falcon fan, I go, let's take advantage of that.
Sure.
Especially when Pacheco is out, Hollywood Brown is out, and offensively they're gonna replace some people. They're not going to come without a lineup, but it's not going to be the same as what we saw last February in the Super Bowl. So hopefully the Falcons can take advantage of a team that has a little bit of rust on them. They're probably more tired than anything else. They're not quite ready to be fully ramped up and play playoff caliber football.
All right, so for the Falcons, you go from Philadelphia to Kansas City. Does that one day less a preparation for Monday Night Football? How does that affect a player?
Well, you lose a lot of sleep because you don't get home till 3 or 4 in the morning after the trip. You're going to watch film. Either some would watch it, the coaches especially, on the plane trip. But every player gets that one day off. But you kind of bunch 2 things into Wednesday. You watch Monday night's film on Wednesday. You make some corrections, and then you immediately have to put that on the shelf and then get ready and do your scouting report for Kansas City. So there's a little bit of a jam there. You don't have to practice quite as hard on Wednesday, but Thursday's practice is critical, and yesterday's Friday when you put in short yardage, goal line, all the real specific things that you want to do against that lineup. Today, because it's a home game, you get a walkthrough, and then you get to get off your feet for a while, and you can tend, especially early in the season, you get to relax a little bit and recharge. But, you do lose the game. You gained it the week before when you really didn't need it when you do the Monday night game, but then you lose it the following week with the Sunday game at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, 1 o'clock. We're not at 1 o'clock. We're at 8:20, so you get a little more time to rest up. But that's a long day.
Oh, yeah.
A long Sunday.
All right, so tell me your opinions about the Ring of Honor ceremony tomorrow, and how important is that for anyone having their name on the Ring of Honor?
Well, let's ask Matt Ryan. If there's only one thing that would be better, and that's to get a gold jersey, I think. You know, to have your team, your city, the franchise that you have been with. Granted, let's be honest, and Matt did play a year in in Indianapolis with the Colts, but he's a Falcon, obviously. And I think it's a great honor. It happened very quickly. He didn't have to wait very long for that to take place. So the love and respect that the city of Atlanta. Remember when we first got him, it was, he's not Michael Vick. He's not Steve Bartkowski. But he did take him to a Super Bowl. His numbers speak for themselves. They're at the top of every chart that you would have for the Falcons. So well-deserved, and obviously, especially when you have an audience that will include the Carrie Underwoods and Taylor Swifts of the world. What's your over-under, Mike? How many times are we going to see Taylor Swift? Every time that Kelsey makes a catch, we're going to see her. So over-under is 4. What do you think, Mike? What side are you taking?
Ooh, over.
Yeah.
And let's just hope Kelsey didn't catch any balls tomorrow night. That's to be the big thing.
Yeah. Well, defensively, the Falcons, like I said, they're in the top 11, which, still a little bit of room to get in the top 10, but very impressed with what they're able to do. And once they start fine-tuning some things, it's going to be difficult to score against the Falcons, which is a great thing to have for any team. If the opponents can't score, it puts you in a position where you can win a lot of games.
You got to name that defense again, and I want to hear Jesse Bates, with another interception.
It was awesome. He's in the right place at the right time, and some of that, and we'll get better. But putting pressure on the quarterback, and Jared had, I think he's leading the league right now in pressures. He's getting close, but he doesn't have the sack total yet. But the Falcon defense, they're 11th overall. They're 27th against the rush. Philly did a really good job of being able to rush and had a couple of gashes there, but 4, 5, 6 yards. But against the pass, we're number 7, and overall in scoring, we're 10th. So very impressed with what Coach Lake and everybody there on the defensive side is doing with the Falcons.
Hey, and they're healthy too. Hey, let me ask you this question we mentioned a little earlier about quarterbacks. Tell me about your assessment of Aaron Rodgers and his first game back.
Well, both games, right? The second game, everything seemed to go really well just the other night. 3 games.
Yep.
He's hungry. I think he wants to prove something. He's got to get to know these guys at full speed, so it's going to, just like I said with the Falcons, he's a little rusty, but he's a different bird now. He has been ever since the beginning. When Favre was there and he had to sit for 1, 2, 3 years before he plays, that can put a chip on somebody's shoulder. I think he's got one. I think he also realizes that he's got a gray beard, and he's getting older. He doesn't have much time left. So for him to do it, he's got to do it now. I mean, not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. He's got to get it done. So I think that he's very driven, and go along for the ride, Jet fans, because it could be a very, very interesting year for them. They get 1 or 2 other wins that are big and important. They beat their nemesis with the Patriots the other night, and that's something they've needed to do forever.
Yep.
But now they've got a team, they've got a leader, they've got somebody that will really help that franchise. So Aaron is probably in the right position in terms of being with the right team that just will follow him, and he's going to be leading them. So I expect big numbers from him as well. I'm not a big fantasy player, but I'd put him in the lineup.
Sure.
Instead of getting 14 or 17 points, he's going to want to get 30.
Well, you mentioned Matt Ryan, and he was not a top draft pick, and that was one of those things. And you go back to other top-name quarterbacks who are not number 1. And then you see what happened this week. We had the problem with Desmond Ridder, and now you've seen what's happened with Bryce Young, and you go like, what is happening when it comes to how someone assesses the scouting, goes out and assesses a quarterback like that and gives them all this kind of money, and then it doesn't work?
Well, I agree with you on the assessment and the specifics of what can this guy do. Can he make that big throw? Does he make the throws that nobody else can make? Does he have the arm strength that Favre or Marino had? Blah, blah, blah. You can put all that together. But, Mike, it really doesn't mean a whole lot if you don't have an offensive line to protect him, does it?
No, it does not. Yes.
No. How good is Joe Montana, and it doesn't matter. The Bears right now, they're struggling. You look at Fields, put a good offensive line in front of Fields, and now guess what? They're 2-0. He doesn't have great numbers, but they're 2-0. That's the most important thing. And then you've got Caleb has kind of struggled, and there are people talking about maybe benching him. It was too early to put him in. We'll find out. But if you've got somebody to protect your quarterback, and that to me, that's number 1, have a good quarterback. Number 2, protect him. And number 3, have a good enough defense to where you can get the other team's quarterback and put him on the ground. You got a recipe for great things to happen in the NFL.
And we mentioned last night in the West Hall game about confidence. How important is that for any player in the NFL, especially with a young quarterback?
Well, yeah. I mean, doesn't everybody have visions of sugar plums and fairies running around, either whether it be baseball and spring training or, oh, we can do it, we're going to be fine. Well, it doesn't take very long where Denver is 0-2, where Carolina is 0-2. And you can go in any game, and there's a 50-50 chance just by a coin flip that you're going to win. But if you don't believe you're going to win, that's the biggest thing. So obviously the confidence and knowing that there's some stuff that works. That's the thing about the Falcons. That last drive, my goodness, everything worked. There was one incompletion, but Mooney was wide open. And a great route by Drake London to score, and it looked like we've been doing that. That was mid-season form on that last drive. That's the thing that's so exciting for Falcon fans. Is they've got something that they can anticipate, they've been told about, and then when they actually see it come to fruition and the players running around and celebrating and having a great time, that's worth its weight in gold in terms of locker room confidence, the way that they relate with one another, and their ability to take on anybody.
So next week we'll be down at Flying Branch for our high school game of the week, right across the street from the Falcon Complex. And you can, a lot of times you can sort of sense the excitement going on there at the Falcon Complex with the Atlanta Falcons, can't you?
Well, there's sometimes where, like a week ago, it was a bad Monday. You know, you lose at home against a team that you struggled with for years. It's, oh, man, but building the countenance, everything changed last week, coming home late on a early Tuesday morning, and now you're 1-1 and you take on the world champion. There's a little step in your pep, and you've got the ability to do some things, and you believe in yourself a little bit differently. Absolutely.
Yeah, life is different, isn't it, from that standpoint. Great job, friend. Appreciate it much. We'll talk to you next week.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you at Flower Branch on Friday night.
All right, see you then. We got much more for you coming up next. We'll wrap things up with college football here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM.
Back to school shouldn't mean back to the doctor. Make sure you go to Riverside Pharmacy for all of your health needs. They have everything from hand sanitizers to all of the vitamins you'll need. But if your child does get sick, then the expert pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy can get your family back to school by filling all of your prescriptions. They'll even deliver them in the Gainesville area. Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
Hey, it's Coach Mark Richt here. Everyone knows defense wins championships. And if you're not using EMC Security to defend your home and family, you need to step up your game. They're who I use for home security and cameras, and you should too. I've scouted them all, and there's no better choice. With EMC Security's no contract and local service, they are a clear number one. So give them a call or visit them online at emcsecurity.com. That's emcsecurity.com.
It's your 2-minute warning here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We go to the phones and talk to Dave Cohen, the voice of Georgia State. He's off this week, but I just want to wake him up and say hello and get ready for next week's game at State, not Southern, next Saturday. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Mike, you always save the best for last.
Always, from that standpoint. We'll tell Harper that from that standpoint, buddy. So, hey, so really, how is it having the week off right now?
Well, as I've talked to a few of the players in our Panther Insider podcast this week, which is available at GeorgiaStateSports.com, it really is not an off week other than the fact that they will not play a game sometime today. They have kept the regular schedule, the regular practice week schedule, and they've turned their attention now. Coming off that great win over Vanderbilt last Saturday, they've turned their attention to Georgia Southern. It's kind of early in the schedule for us to play Georgia Southern, but be that as it may, they'll be here next Saturday afternoon. Georgia Southern's got a big one today. They're in Oxford, Mississippi, against fifth-ranked Ole Miss. So we'll try to peek in at that game and do a little scouting. But Georgia State is, they have continued their regular practice schedule coming off the Vanderbilt win. Georgia State 2-1, and again, it's early on the schedule compared to past seasons, but State, not Southern, coming up next Saturday afternoon at Center Park Stadium.
All right, final thing for you. Tell me, has Del McGee discovered the importance of this game?
Well, remember, he does have a little bit of history being at Georgia Southern as an assistant, and then he was the interim for their bowl game a number of years ago.
Yeah,
so,
right.
He's now seen it briefly from both sides, so yes.
All right, so next Saturday, Panther pregame show will be at 3 o'clock. Kickoff at 3:30 p.m. This is 97.5 Glory FM, WGTJ, Murrayville, Gainesville, and W248DL, Murrayville, Gainesville.
Agnew in Washington.